store, plus the superior service of a local independent. And in the rare case there's a problem with the product, you don't deal with someone hiding behind a 1-800 number. You have real people here who can help. See why the City Furniture model has succeeded for 40 years and continues to grow.
Hi, I'm Brandy, one of the groomers at Friendly Pets. Today I would like to talk with you about mats. Long-haired dogs tend to get mats throughout the winter months. The hair gets wet and starts to mat, never truly drying out. The mats will get tighter and tighter, being pulled closer to the skin, causing discomfort to your dog. A misconception is your dog will be warmer throughout the winter months. An example is St. Bernard came in and he's a once-a-year groom. It's very uncomfortable for the dog to go through. So come book with us at Friendly Pets.
Have your eyeglasses or sunglasses seen better days? Then it's time to visit Merwin Optical, your one-stop shop for all your eyewear needs. Glenn and Sneehall are there to help you choose exciting new styles from Oakley, Ray-Ban, Calvin Klein, and others. Their expert advice can help you choose the right frames and lenses to help you look your best and see your best. Second sets are always half price. Same-day site testing for adults 19 to 64 only, and direct billing to most insurance companies. Visit Merwin Optical, serving Fort St. John since 1987.
Now, an in-depth look at the news and information shaping our community. This is Moose Talks with your host, Doug Craig, on Moose FM.
Welcome to another edition of the show. I am indeed your host, Doug Craig. Going a little late today, but it will be worth it as we've got a lot to talk to, and it's been a while since he's been on the show, but we're grateful he made time for us and stuck around through the technical difficulties this morning to chat about energy and gun control and all the things happening in Ottawa. I'm joined now by Prince George, Peace River, Northern Rockies MP, Bob Zimmer. Bob, thanks for joining us on Moose Talks once again.
Good to be here, Dub. Yeah, technology, eh?
Absolutely.
Oh, wow.
Well, why don't we dive right in? You, of course, are on the Natural Resources Committee. You're a member of it, so lots of natural resources news recently. Let's start with Keystone XL. The president made wasn't quiet about the fact that if he got into office, he would cancel the Keystone XL pipeline.
Yeah.
He did so his first day in office. What should the government be doing about it that they aren't already? Because the Liberals say they're committed to trying to make something work.
Yeah, well, that's we all know what the truth is around that, don't we? We were in committee. We were trying to bring a motion forward just to study the decision. Because it's a pretty good project. It employs Canadians and Americans. It provides a resource that's needed right now. And the Liberals at committee, first of all, they adjourned debate, so they shut down debate on it. And then when we finally got back to debating on it, they defeated the motion. So this is just to look at the decision. So, they talk one game. We've seen this many times before. They talk a big game. They're pro-resource development. But when it really comes down to defending the industry, they're sorely lacking. And you asked about that, too. We just expect, what do you expect from the Prime Minister in the response to Biden, what he should have been doing? And he just said, look, we're going to go by what they decided, we're looking for a Prime Minister and a government that's going to defend our resource sector, how important that is to the bottom line, not only to our bottom line, but to our citizens, to literally keeping meals on tables, especially in this area up here in the North Peace. British Columbia, for that matter, Alberta, you name it. So we're looking for a prime minister and a government that actually stands up for our industry and fights back. Here's a project that's very much needed. I mean, if you contrast to where the other resources are going to come from, would you rather honestly get them from Saudi Arabia or any of these other countries that have lackluster human rights records? They're actually going to say no to Canada and yes to some of these other countries. The fact that Biden stood up against it in his election, we knew that this was coming, but to me, it just baffles me, the logic or illogic of the decision. It just doesn't make sense.
Bob, you said in one of your op-eds that, by the way, get published on Energeticcity.ca when you do one, you had mentioned that in committee, you said the Liberals, and I think you just said it, the Liberals voted down a proposal to study the effects of this. What would that study have accomplished? It seems like at least to me, we kind of know what the effects are, right? What more would we have gained from that?
What it was, it was an honest attempt from us to keep the issue in front of Canadians. It's once this, Trudeau wants to just sweep it under the carpet and hopefully it goes away for him. That's what he wants to happen. Now it's once you do that, then the group moves on to Line 5 and many of these other projects that are still viable projects. Well, then they become the target. We're looking for more attention paid to it. We wanted to just expose the bad logic, as I just said, the bad, you name it, around that decision. We wanted to have a good conversation around it and just talk about what that what that would have looked like. So that was the idea, is just to have a good conversation about, even have an honest question: was this a good decision? We know it isn't, but let the evidence speak to that. And I think the evidence would have been clear that it was clearly a bad decision, and challenge the Prime Minister to, hey, step up and defend us now. That's what your job is. We've seen that you haven't done it in the past, but you need to. That's your job.
Now, you did mention Line 5. We are kind of embroiled, or the government anyway, is embroiled in a bit of a skiff with Michigan Governor Whitmer over this. She has said she's removing, or I've got the wrong word there, but taking away the easement that allows the Line 5 pipeline to operate essentially under the Straits of Mackinac, citing environmental reasons. Seamus O'Regan, the Natural Resources Minister, says they're going to fight this with everything they got. What do you think of that? Do you believe the Liberals, or is that kind of them talking?
Well, I mean, we just talked about how they talk a game and don't deliver, right? One game and don't deliver. So, again, I'm a hopeful guy. I honestly hope that they fight this again, because it's, again, one more bad decision. That line under, what the governor has been referring to has been operating safely for years, and it's a resource that we need and that Americans need. And this is, again, just, I think another effort to, deal with the fossil fuel industry and death by 1,000 cuts. And this is just, another 100 cuts to us. But to me, if you look at the overall picture from a 30,000 foot level, energy is needed. If you want to talk about doing something good for the environment, how about get Canadian resources that are, again, developed at, environmental standards second to none? How about get more of those resources to market, not less? Like, again, we have to contrast where the products are going to come from. Venezuela, Saudi Arabia, you name the countries. This audience hardly needs a lesson on the contrast between how much better our resources are than really any others around the world, and how they're developed. So again, I hope they honestly do fight for the project and or fight for the line that it remains operational. So anyway, that's my hope. Proof remains to be seen, I suppose.
Switching gears a little bit, we've heard this week that apparently CNRL is decommissioning assets in Chetwynd and kind of the Tumbler Ridge areas. I assume you've heard about that. How concerned are you about that situation?
It depends on the reason. I don't know too much about that. The reason, honestly, on that one. I know some of the resources that have been CNRLs are being acquired by other oil and gas cos. So, I know Tourmaline has been acquiring some of those assets and doing very well. So I don't know too many parts of that decision. So before I would comment, it's a guess on that. I'd have to study it a bit more.
Okay. Switching to softwood lumber a bit. Again, you've dealt with this in your committee. You've mentioned this in one of your op-eds. You think, again, the government needs to work on this. And I think you said specifically in committee, somebody from the government testified, didn't give answers you thought made sense or you didn't like. What's your comment on that? What do you think the government should be doing on that file to push maybe a new agreement with the United States?
Well, this goes way back. So, they like to blame the previous administration for the problems, but this started under Obama. I remember Obama sitting about 10 feet in front of me in the House, got up to speak. There was supposed to be a softwood lumber agreement signed within 100 days. That's what the Prime Minister promised, and they were supposedly, had a cozy relationship with the then President Obama. It never happened. We saw the entourage. We all heard the sirens and the limos leaving to the Ottawa airport, and Air Force One taking off with no softwood lumber agreement. That was under this prime minister. Didn't get done then, so am I confident that it's going to get done now? Not really. But does it need to get done? You bet. And so I asked the officials in the department the question. They said they couldn't speak to it. So I made a motion to have the minister appear so she could answer. And my questions were to her. I know that you had a bilateral with the prime minister and President Biden. Was the softwood lumber agreement brought up at least? And I did not get an answer saying that she did. She waffled and she said she talked about this and that, but no discussion about a softwood lumber agreement. And I think what's more troubling to me is it shows a lack of understanding of how important that agreement, what it means to our entire country. British Columbia is certainly a big lumber and forestry province, but there's other provinces too that really rely on a good softwood lumber agreement. Quebec, Alberta, you name the province, they've all got some sort of forest industry. So to me, again, it just shows a lack of understanding, I think, of our natural resource sector and the forest sector to not even bring it up at the meeting. It should have been the first topic she brought up because its impacts to Canadian producers. It's forced a lot of them, into an uncompetitive situation where they're not competitive here in Canada. So then they decide to reestablish their operation in the U.S. And that isn't good for our country. It's not good for our workers, and it isn't good for our forest sector.
All right, and finally on natural resources, it's some good news apparently. The federal government announced $40.5 million for the Clark Lake geothermal project up near Fort Nelson. Apparently it'll be Canada's, or is set to be Canada's, first commercially viable geothermal electrical production facility. How are you feeling about that project? And out of curiosity, I mean, as the MP for the region, how much did you have involvement in making that happen with the government?
I've been supportive right from the start. There's been other geothermal projects, namely the one in Valemount, that I've been working on since I think I got this job. Mm-hmm. It is a great idea. When you see other countries like Iceland develop their geothermal into I don't know if it's their main energy source in Iceland, but it's pretty close, using just the heat from the earth to create energy. So I think it's a long time coming. I think what we need in Canada is more examples of a functional geothermal energy producing facility. And then once those facilities can start, you learn from that, how they work, what can you do better. I think that's going to be it's a great step into the future for us as Canadians. We have a lot of resources in Canada. We like to use them all, and this is just one more resource that's untapped up to this point. And I'm glad it's happening in my riding, and I'm glad the folks in Fort Nelson hopefully will benefit directly from the jobs and from the rest of that facility operating well into the future.
All right.
It's a good deal.
Absolutely. And we only have a few minutes for this one. I know you're passionate about it, but I did want to talk about the latest gun control measures that the Liberals have put out. Let's talk about that first in brief. I mean, you certainly aren't a fan of this, are you?
No. Well, I think if, being that we have a couple of minutes, I think the biggest problem with the whole bill, it's a fake, right? It says that it's supposed to be targeting illegal firearms and sort of the crime in our inner cities, in Canada. And it does nothing to prevent that from happening. Instead, it targets, airsoft now, paintball gun, pellet gun owners. It talks about search and seizures without warrants. Talks about a municipal handgun ban that pushes now what's a federal jurisdictionary thing into municipalities now. And so you have folks that own firearms or handguns specifically in places like Vancouver. The mayor has been very clear that he wants to enact a bylaw to make it so they're banned. And so that affects people that want to come from Richmond, maybe go to Mission Gun Club to go, lawfully and safely use their firearm. Well, now because of a law like this or a bylaw, that may even make that person decide where they want to live in the future. It's really, again, it just shows, I've said this all along, whenever the Prime Minister's in deep water, let's call it water, he likes to put a firearms bill before the House because it's a fake. It's to draw attention away from the mess that he's created for our country. So the sad part of it is, and I'll finish with this, is it takes much needed resources in billions and gun confiscations and all the rest. It diverts billions from where it really can have an effect, like border control. We're having more agents on the border looking to make sure that illegal firearms aren't coming across the border. And how about gang units, and put more resources to those kind of efforts, because they really work. And it takes all that money and starts trying to confiscate firearms from law-abiding Canadians. So it's actually worse than just being irresponsible. It's actually hurting the safety of Canadians because it's diverting money where it should be put, where it can be effective, to a place that it's not going to be effective.
All right, Bob. Well, we'll have to leave it there this time, but I really appreciate you making some time with us today and for working through the technical glitches with us. Thanks, Bob.
That was quick, eh? It went by just like that. So thanks, Dub, for the time again. Always a pleasure.
You're very welcome. That's Bob Zimmer, MP for Prince George. That's the wrong camera there. Prince George, Peace River, Northern Rockies. We'll be right back to wrap things up on Moose Talks right after this.
For months, we've been telling you Armor Lubricants is expanding their storefront. Well, that storefront is now open. As your fully stocked industrial supplies store, Armor Lubricants now has the largest outdoor grilling inventory in Fort St. John, with pellet, gas, and charcoal grills, plus packaged and bulk lubricants, greases, coolants, glycols, and chemicals, as well as 2 fully rigged mobile service trucks. Armor Lubricants, locally owned and operated on Alaska Highway. Visit armorlubricants.com.
Stay and win in Grand Prairie. $10,000 up for grabs. Now through April, stay at one of Grand Prairie's preferred hotels for a chance to win the spring giveaway. First place, $5,000 cash. Second, $3,000. Third place, $2,000. Entry details at gprda.com.
Spring into action. Shop, play, and stay at the Sandman Hotel, downtown Grand Prairie. Offering dining options like Denny's and the Bar One Lounge. Ask for our spring promotion. Call 780-513-5555.
If you're looking for hassle-free internet services, call the Peace Region Internet Society today. With coverage throughout most of the Peace, PRIS can get you connected quickly without the hassle of contracts or bundles. Visit PRIS.ca or call 1-800-768-3311 for more information.
Our community first. This is Moose Talks with Dub Craig on Moose FM.
Our thanks again to Bob Zimmer for stopping by, and our apologies to Jim Harris from Driving Force. We weren't able to connect with him to talk about the Giver truck. We will attempt to do so very shortly in the future. Wanted to make sure you know, of course, to check out Energeticcity.ca for all your local and regional news. And to hear past episodes of this show, you can listen and download them now at energeticcity.ca/Moose Talks. And if you want to rewatch this episode, you'll be able to do so again shortly on the Moose FM or Energeticcity.ca Facebook pages. That does it for this episode. Moose Talks is produced by Adam Rayburn and Trey Lopashinsky. I'm Dub Craig. Be well.
Join us next